Hello. Are we good? Okay. All right. Hello, guys. Welcome to Confessions of Being Fabulous with Priscilla Hawks, where we live, we learn, we grow. I meant to confirm. Okay, yeah, it's green. I usually check before I start talking just to make sure, and I didn't do that. But anyway, welcome. Today is day 16 of 31 Days of Gratitude. I'm so happy if you're tuning in. If you've tuned in for the first time today, welcome. If you've tuned in prior to now a few times, even for 5 seconds, welcome back. And thank you for that. So today, let's jump right in. I wanted to talk a little bit about um, something that has come up, I would say maybe like 2 or 3 days. Somebody had asked a question about me being a therapist, which I am not. And then someone else asked something about, there was a comment in therapy was mentioned. Oh, no, there was a comment where someone asked about trauma because the challenge on that day and the message on that day was about acceptance. And I was proposing that we, in our acceptance of what is, even if we don't like it, that can somehow kind of get us to a more neutral place, a better place, where now from that place we can have a spirit of gratitude. We can experience gratitude that we want to experience. And the question was, well, how do you accept trauma? Which is a fair question. So I thought to myself, you know what? I should take a step back and kind of provide some context as to who I am. This channel is not new. It's new this year. It started in 2024, but me going live is new. So I think because I'm going live, I think some people, hello, Victor. Some people are finding me or whatever. That's what it seems like because I don't know all of the people from the comments that I've seen. But in any case, I'm like maybe some background would be helpful. But no, I'm not a therapist. And to get back to that question around, well, how do you accept trauma? I answered it to the best of my ability based on experience, life experience. So not based on any license, not based on any professional experience or education, but just my own personal experience with having felt down through the years different things within myself that were negative emotion, maybe moods. And then I would say most recently, a couple of years ago, I actually had what I now understand was a bout of, I believe it's called situational depression. And from that space, uh, hello, Sam. Hi, Victor again. Ama. Hello, Ama. And so from that space, that is where a lot of my advice is going to come from, just my own personal experience. But what I want to say to that person that posed the question, how do you accept trauma? And this kind of goes to the challenge for the day. Every day that we've done this is 31 days of gratitude. We're at day 16. Every day has been about, me challenging you each day to do something that I am proposing is going to assist you in having, you know, one step closer to experiencing gratitude as a lifestyle and not just, like a one-time occasion where it's Christmas, I'm grateful. But no, like every day in, day out, like you just have a general overall disposition of being grateful and expressing and experiencing gratitude. So that's what each day is about. That's what each challenge is about. If there's been a word, I was at a toy drive yesterday. So if you look at yesterday, we had a quick word from Kevin Grimes Sr. Shout out to him. And thanks for coming on as you did yesterday, even though you're at your event. The words that he shared. I have another guest coming on day 19. So it's all about expressing gratitude. You were so strong, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's all about expressing gratitude, but sometimes you need to hear it from someone else. For most of the days, that someone else has been me. We did have a few other days where we had other people. We'll have another day like that Thursday. But I wanted to pause for a second and kind of go back to the idea of therapy. And again, that question, how do you accept trauma? I think sometimes the first step, and I alluded to this a little bit in that video, I forget what day that was. That might have been day 13, if I'm not mistaken, 13, 14, something like that. But sometimes the first step, if you feel like you've experienced, this is definitely a case, if you feel like you've experienced negative emotion for like a long period of time, sometimes maybe that first step is to go to a therapist or is to get some sort of professional help. There are psychologists, there are psychiatrists, there are I can't think of the full term right now, but people who are licensed to be able to have certain conversations with you. And then there are, you've heard the term life coaches. So you would have to kind of do your research on each and understand what makes sense for you. But I'm bringing this up because I do feel like one of the worst things you can do if you are in a space where you want to feel grateful, but it just seems hard to do, that might mean that you're just so far down the rabbit hole emotionally that you can't pull yourself out of it without someone else's help. And if you're fortunate to be able to get that help from loved ones, you have a support system in your own life, beautiful, that's great. But if that's not the case, there are people out here professionally, they are here to help. And I think it would be unkind for me to go through this whole series and not address that reality. These people exist for a reason. They exist, to be able to uh, provide their expertise and assist you through challenges that may sometimes just seem too difficult to bear alone or to bear without, the professional guidance. So you do your research and finding out what makes the most sense. But I wanted to put that out there. And I also want to say therapy, I feel, has recently become, trendy. It's almost like a little bit sexy now, like to say you have a therapist, like, oh yeah, I got to talk to my therapist about this, like it's become a thing. But it was not like that for a lot of years. And if you have parents who, don't get it and they didn't go to therapists, their parents didn't go to therapists, then now here you are talking about therapy. You may not have the support of your loved ones. They may feel like, oh, you don't need a therapist, just go take a nap, or just go have a drink. A drink will take care of it all. And these are the types of things I feel like are more common until recently. Now people are like, pro therapy, pro therapist, pro talking to someone, like it's become normalized. But that was not the case. And so I wanted to kind of just be your support system, your cheerleader, if you will. If you happen to be someone who's been thinking about therapy, you think that it's something you may need, something you may benefit from, but you don't have a circle of people around you that agree, or that, just even have the mindset of thinking about therapy, then I'm here to be your support system. I'm here to be the person that cheers you on, that says, go make the appointment, go, check with your insurance to find out if you're covered, go, do what you have to do to start down the path of, getting the help that you feel that you need. And so going back to my experience, I had never met with a therapist before, but I just went through this whole like couple of weeks of I just felt it was more than just tired, because I've experienced that before where I just was doing too much, and then, out in the New York City streets, and I just felt tired. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that kind of like, oh, the city is tiring. It wasn't that. Um, Show your heels. It was different. And so I literally texted a friend and I told her, because she's a mental health advocate. She writes books, does speaking engagements, sharing her own story, and also helping and guiding people toward the right resources that they need. Some resources which she herself creates. books and the like and workbooks. But I reached out to her and I was just like, I'm having these feelings. I said, I'm super lethargic. Like, I don't want to get out of bed. Like, all things that do not describe normal Priscilla. And so I'm like, what is happening? Like, I don't know what to do. And so she asked me, first question, if I was suicidal. I answered honestly, I really was not. I did not feel like, in those moments I wanted to take my life. I recognize some may be there. So if that is you, that's even more of a reason why I hope this video resonates. But I wasn't there. Like, I wasn't at a space where I didn't want to be on the earth anymore. I just felt like anything that I wanted to do was exhausting, like to get up and make a cup of tea, to have to get my son ready for school in the morning, like all of it. It was just a lot. If I wanted to just tuck my shirt in, and that sounds crazy, right? But I mean it. Like, anything that I needed to do, wanted to do, it just felt like a huge task, a huge chore. So she was the one that was basically like, well, maybe go to the ER, get checked out, see what's going on. They'll have someone speak with you. And I have a child. So I actually thought that was sound advice. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to the emergency room for this, because when we think emergency room, we typically think there's blood, there's, a sinus infection that's going to make my head pop. There, like physical things. I broke my toe. Like, we think about stuff like that when it comes to the emergency room. But the truth is, our mental health is just as important, if not more important, some might argue, than our physical health. So I followed her advice. I went to the emergency room. And when I went to the emergency room, okay, then you're welcome to, you're welcome to exit the premises. Who's this, Ronnie? You're welcome to exit the premises. I was just told I talk too much on my channel, on my live. But anyway, I went and I kind of was nervous because I didn't know what they were going to say. But after a series of questions, they basically were like, we would like to keep you overnight and, become an inpatient. They wanted to give me some medication, blah, 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 blah. So after further conversation, because I explained I didn't want that. I'm a mom. I needed to get home to my son. And so I asked about other options. I'm like, is there anything else? That can be done where I can still get the help that I need? But, I was like, I just can't stay here. That was the bottom line. I couldn't stay there. I needed to get home to my son. And the thought of like multiple days going by, like that, it just wasn't an option. So upon speaking with me further, because, now they're like, okay, let's make sure she can go home type of thing. You know what I mean? So I was there for a while, but when it was all said and done, all of those conversations resulted in me basically, being told to go. There was a specific place they recommended. It was very difficult to get an appointment at that time. I was told that, because this was kind of like during COVID, and I was told during that time, it was really difficult to get a therapist. If you had a therapist, without like standing appointments, getting an appointment was hard. So I went through all of that. So I didn't end up going to the place they told me about, because I think that place was more of like a group setting or something. But I found out through my insurance, this is something you can pay for as well. So I just started searching. I called my cousin. My cousin is actually a psychologist, and I wanted some advice on like, how do I know I'm picking the right person? And he gave some advice. And then, I just went through the whole process and I found a therapist. I worked with her for several months, and it was one of the best things I could have ever done. And I think that maybe what had happened was I may have just been burnt out from life. I know that sounds crazy, but I'll explain that in a second. And then I also may have experienced, my son at that time, I think, was 5. But those 5 years, they just flew by. And then COVID was part of it. Me being a single mom, that was part of it. His dad is in his life, but his dad doesn't live local. So, for the most part, like it's me and my son. And so it was just a lot happening, like still working. I had moved back to New York City because when he was born, I moved elsewhere so I could be closer to family. And then I'm back in the concrete jungle. So I'm living in Harlem with this child and I'm doing like, city life can be a lot. The train, and I didn't really do the train that much after COVID though, because I was scared. So we wasn't on the train too much, but just being out and about it was a lot happening. I had dated someone, so that was new. And so all of that, by the time I met with this therapist, it just felt good to have like a safe space where I can just, exhale. And so when I spoke with her, a lot of the sessions, what time is it here? Thank you, Wolf. Let her talk. You look fine. Thank you, Wolf. Adela, what time is it here? It's about 4:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Ronnie, what are you talking about? We're talking about this particular day of 31 days of gratitude. I'm advising people that may need a little extra support to go get a therapist. So I was just providing a little bit of background about my experience with therapy. I got a therapist for the first time a few years back because I went through situational depression. And I felt the need to talk about therapy today because I am not a therapist, but this whole challenge, you can look back at the other 15 days. We're on day 16 now. This whole challenge has been about, you know, adopting gratitude as a lifestyle. And so each day I've been challenging people to do something that gets them a little bit closer, to step closer to, being a person who can just be in the spirit of gratitude day in and day out. And the point of the challenge is, me understanding that there's a lot of people that dislike the holidays. It's hard for them to be in the spirit of gratitude because they're thinking about bad things that have happened. Some of those bad things might be loved ones that died, love that's been lost, jobs that have been lost, salaries that have decreased, the election we just had, depending on where you sit, what side of the fence you sit on. So it's a lot. And for some people, when I look at them and I say, oh, you should be grateful, they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? About what? So the whole point of 31 days of gratitude is each day I'm like, well, let me just, provide my perspective. You don't have to agree with it, but this is what I'm here doing, providing my perspective so that you can perhaps experience a paradigm shift and see it a different way. And so on today, this is the day, and we're going to jump in a second, but the day that I felt it was appropriate to just talk about therapy. That's all, because I'm not a therapist. I have been asked on other days, are you a therapist? I'm not a licensed professional as it relates to mental health or anything like that. I am actually an attorney by trade. I do business and corporate law and intellectual property, and I also sing, and I'm a performer. So two completely different sides of the spectrum, but that is my actual life. And it just so happens that what has been interesting to me down through the years is just the way the human mind works and the way that my mind works and the way that I've been able to, on a dime, I know how to change my state. If I'm feeling depressed, I know how to, like do things, too many techniques that we won't get to in this one video, but I've become an expert at kind of changing the way that I feel. And I've done that because oftentimes life required that I change my state. I need it. If you want to run, I talk about the marathon. If you want to run a marathon, then you need to change your state. If you've never worked out a day in your life, you're going to need to change your consciousness. You're going to need to change your state of mind from someone who may look at themselves as, oh no, I'm not a person that works out. You got to change that to, oh yeah, I'm a runner. And that sounds crazy, right? I know how to do that. So when you change your state, you're now changing, in a sense, your identity, and you're positioning yourself to be able to do the very thing that maybe you couldn't do before because you just don't identify as that person. But coming back to today, me talking about therapy is also important, because sometimes people, they need more than just a YouTube live. They need professional help. They need to go and sit and speak with someone. And so I wanted to share with you all today the brief story that I gave about my background with therapy, and then basically just encourage you to go and seek that help if you think that you need it. And if you have been like on the fence about it, then I'm here to be your cheerleader, and to tell you, yay, you're doing the right thing by looking into it, because I had commented previously, we are also living with generations of people where therapy was not a thing for them. So now here we are, this generation, we're like pro therapy. And like I said, it's become like sexy to say like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this with my therapist on Friday, but that wasn't always the case. So we may have families that are like, girl, go sit down somewhere, like go have a glass of wine, go all the stuff like that. So I'm here to be your support system if you don't really have anybody in your life that's like pro therapy or pushing you. I'm pushing you if that's what you feel like is right for you. I can't say anything negative about my experience. It was all upside, all upside. So don't know, about your particular town or whatever. You're going to have to do a little bit of homework. Like I said, I started with a suggestion that was made when I went to the ER. They told me exactly where to go. It just so happens this place was booked for like a minute and it was hard to get an appointment. So I just did research, went through my insurance. I found out, who was in network, reached out to a couple, landed on one, met with this lady for months. It was amazing. So you will have to do a little bit of homework to get there. But if you feel that you've had negative emotions over an extended period of time, and if it feels like it's just really difficult for you to even stay positive, just for a few seconds, or even if it feels like you try to see the bright side of things and you just can't do it, consider looking into therapy. All right. So I don't have any particular names on today. Everything will change the way you experience about today. Are you looking for, okay, so some of these comments are wild, so that's going to be all for now. But thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope this particular live was helpful. It's all about you checking out therapy. Hi, Akash. I'm going to jump, but thank you again for being here. I wish you lots of fun, laughter, abundance in your life. Peace. Have a good day, guys.